This is Harold. He's happy playing with his Johnson guitar. He bought it at South Beach Music Exchange. We're so sure that playing in a band will increase your sex life that we're willing to give you a free Johnson guitar pick just for visiting our store. For all you night owls out there, we're open from 8 p.m. to 3 a.m. Thursday through Sunday. Come to South Beach Music Exchange for your free Johnson guitar pick.
The video is about to start. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. There we go! Okay, hello everyone. Here we are today with a legend of my neighborhood, Mr. Marty Sherman. I know that you're a legend, a living legend of Miami Beach, especially of Sunset Harbor Drive. So the thing is that when I moved here, I always heard of you. You had this shop forever. But before we go into your shop and do you mind giving us a little info about the neighborhood? Like, for example, when did you get this shop?
Well, I bought at the time I was in the real estate business, and I was doing a lot of business on the Venetian Causeway and Sunset Islands, and I passed here in 1984, and there was a sign up for sale. And by the time I called, it was gone. It was sold.
What? This place was sold?
Yeah. Sold.
Oh.
And I was very unhappy about that because I wanted to move my office, my real estate company here to the location. 2 years later, a sign came up again, and the new guy was selling it. Immediately jumped on it and bought it. And that was 1986. And back in 1986, next door, there was no restaurants on the street.
So how did it look?
There was no restaurants on the street.
No restaurants?
Next door, there was
It was Joe Allen's, but way after.
Way after. There was two sisters that opened the store, called Twin Sisters, I think it was called, something like that.
Why not? I do remember this.
And this was originally a hotel next door. An 8-room hotel, 4 rooms on each side with a hallway down the middle, and each of
that little place?
Yeah, and each of the 8 rooms was adjoining another room. So it was 8 rooms and 4 baths. Each of the 2 rooms had a bath in between. And you look at it, you wouldn't think it was a hotel.
No.
Right? It was a very small hotel.
Oh my God.
And they gutted the whole place, took all the walls down, and opened up a company that was dyeing fabrics.
Okay.
These big giant chrome, whatever, stainless steel vats that they dyed fabrics in. Bolts of fabrics. There was bolts of fabrics everywhere in the place.
Yeah, because the look of this neighborhood used to be, if you don't know, Sunset Harbor used to be more of like the hidden place. So Miami Beach was the high-profile place, and this was like the backyard.
This was an industrial area.
Yes, so it was the towing.
Right,
yes.
And there was the Sunset Harbor condominiums were not there.
Oh my God!
And back then, before they built Sunset Harbor apartments, it never flooded. As soon as they built them, that's when the flooding started.
Oh my God! I didn't know this.
Because the roof area is so immense on those 2 buildings that the water just pours off the roof, pours into and then they built this a park across the street, and, paved some of it and whatever.
Yeah.
And as construction continued, the flooding problem got worse.
Oh my God! Like, I didn't know that. Like, that is revealing.
But before that,
yes.
there was like hangars on the bay.
Hangars for what? I don't know what hangars.
Storage space.
Oh, okay. So it was like
giant boat. I have pictures of them.
Oh my God, that would be great. So anyway, so then we said that the neighborhood was industrial, There was like warehouses, factories. I also heard that they wanted to construct a hospital across the street at one point.
That I don't. Oh yes, actually.
The Heart
you know
Institute.
Now I remember.
Yeah.
That, yeah. And there was a big fight over that, and then they made it so the park, that's a park forever.
Oh, thank God. Okay, so this is a music store. Why do you open, a music store? Before we go into you, let's talk about, like, what was across the street, like a block and a half away here, or a block and a half?
A block and a half away from here? What was
that recording studio.
Oh, the BG Center recording studio around the corner.
Right, so,
which is now a
Enterprise. Yeah. So the question is, do you open the music? I know you're a musician, but we'll talk about you in a second. But do you open the studio because they were here?
No.
It was a coincidence?
No, it wouldn't. I wouldn't call it a coincidence, and one thing had nothing to do with the other.
Okay.
I had, at that point in time, before I opened the store, I had 37 guitars. And
you mean of your own use?
Yeah.
Okay.
37 guitars. I had it in my music room in my home. It was just a natural thing. I had 2 sets of drums at that point in time. I had saxophones. I had trumpet. I had everything. I probably had hundreds of instruments in my.
You're such a musician, man. I love you. So anyway, so this was your storage place? I don't get it.
I kept this empty for the first 10 years.
What?
Yeah.
Like, when do you buy it?
I bought it in 1986.
Okay. So in 1999.
2003 is when I opened.
2003. Okay. I'm really bad for math. Like, you can tell my hair color. So, okay. So you opened in 2003.
Right.
I opened in 2007. So that makes us probably the oldest neighbors.
Probably on the street. Probably the first businesses.
Yeah. You of course. Okay, so now the next question is, like, with these VGs people, so they were, because, they're still kind of a big deal as well. So just to move on from that and just like be just you. So have you ever seen them? Have they ever come here to buy stuff? Like,
well, I had, there was a couple of auctions where I donated the guitars and I had them signed. They signed the guitars for the auction.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, so we got that story. We have
Barry Gibb never came in.
No?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's been a lot of famous people who have come in and I don't know who they are.
I got you. Yeah.
I don't even ask.
Same in my shop. Like, I have helped people that I didn't know who they were when they were in the shop, and they were so shocked that I didn't know who they were. It was so embarrassing.
I've had people insulted that I didn't know who they were.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So oh, you don't know who I am? I was like, I don't. Yeah, I'm like very
I was a
strange.
contemporary of them while I was playing in New York, and then they were playing in Long Island. There was one, I'm not going to mention his name, but he was super famous, but I didn't follow him because I was already a musician when he became famous.
Yeah.
So I was, yeah.
So, before we move into you, because I have so many questions. So, like, what gossip can you give me about this neighborhood? Like, what dirt do you have?
Oh, I don't know. Well, the worst thing that's happened to my businesses, because I have the kayak and paddleboard business as well, South Beach Kayak, is that the city closed the boat ramp with no notice to me, and it was closed for. Basically put me out of business for the best 3 months of the year.
Oh, wow.
And with no help from the city at all, no compensation in any way.
Right.
They put in a ladder over here, and you can't carry a kayak down the thing that they come to contraption.
So you mean like when they elevated the roads?
No, when they elevated
we talk about that too.
Actually, when they elevated the roads, they actually made a path for me, and we were able, for not all the time, but for a period of time, they were able to operate while they still
Okay.
That was better than them closing the ramp. Because when they closed the ramp, they just
Why did they
literally
close the ramp?
to rebuild it.
Oh, okay.
You know, I asked for permission to work out of Pine Tree Park. They said no, I couldn't. They were no help at all. So,
Okay, sorry to hear that.
me too. I was.
Yeah. So, okay, so that was the only gossip you heard of the neighborhood, or?
Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
If you remember something, you'll let me know.
If
Yes.
I remember something, I'll let you know.
Okay, so let's go into you.
After all the time in bed, you sit around and then pretend you're lonesome. You've just gone too far. Sit around and say it's true that one and one's not always two. You're lonesome.
So you own the shop. You bought it in whenever, and you opened the shop in 2003. But before this opened, like, what do you do? I heard something about paintings. I heard something about guitarist.
Okay,
So are you a painter or a guitarist or both?
Both.
What?
I started playing guitar when I was 11, and by the time I was 13, I was working on a regular basis.
And where are you from?
In New York.
In New York. So you're New York.
My sister was 3 years older than me. My sister was a singer, great singer.
Wow.
And she was singing with this band, and this was in 1958.
What? Wait, what?
And you heard it right. And
I wasn't even in project.
And she sang with they had a saxophone, trumpet, piano, bass, and then drums, and my sister was a singer.
Uh-huh.
And back in 1958, they had nobody had electric pianos.
Oh.
So wherever they went, it usually was a piano. But every once in a while, they get to a gig and there was no piano. My sister said, "Well, you know, my brother plays guitar when there's no piano, but maybe you can use it." And the next time you knew there was going to be no piano, they hired me, and that was it. I was part of the band.
Wow.
And that was 13. Everybody in the band was like 17, 18.
Mm-hmm.
My sister was probably the youngest one at 16. And by 15, I started having my own bands and
Really?
singing doo-wop. I
It's
joined
so
the
cute.
Musicians Union at 15
Uh-huh.
in New York. And I worked, I was never out of work, ever.
Wow.
I worked continuously through school. While I was in school, I was always late for school because I was very
Me
often
too.
up-
But I wasn't a musician.
Very often up too late at night to get to school.
Yeah.
Wake up in the morning, and so I went to High School of Music and Art in New York, which is the school of fame that they made those movies.
Oh, okay.
But I was an art major there. I had been drawing since I'm a kid, and if you asked me when I was 5 years old, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I want to be an artist.
Uh-huh.
My mother was an artist. And my father was a frustrated singer. My father wanted to be a singer, and his parents nixed it. So he wasn't able to pursue that. He was always regretted it. So when I had doo-wop groups, we were rehearsing my house. My house was the place where I could have bands come in and we could practice. And we were on because I don't know if you know, the Bronx is all hills, lots of hills.
Oh, yeah.
So we were on a hill. And so even though we were on the ground floor in the building, we were up one floor up.
Mm-hmm.
And that window there is where we used to practice, in that room where the window was facing the street. And when you look out the window, there'd be a whole group of people there.
Oh, my God.
Listening to us rehearse, whether it was a doo-wop group or a music group or whatever.
How cool.
And that was very cool. It was actually my first real audience. Was
the curious people.
My neighbors, my friends and the neighbors. And did that for till I was about 32.
What? Just music?
Yeah, just music. But I always never stopped doing artwork.
Right.
And then I met my wife actually in the 70s and around then. And I encouraged her to start getting into art. She had never done any art in her life. And we started working together, and it evolved into selling, actually a few thousand paintings.
What? So wait, to get this straight, so did she help you paint?
Yes.
So it wasn't like
collaborative effort. Yes.
Oh wow! So I mean, so you have your little, I don't want to say sweatshop, but kind of.
We had our method.
He's a very smart man.
But when I was a musician, I bought my first house in New York, in Long Beach, Long Island.
Okay, so the question now, why did you come to Miami?
Because in 1969, I came down here. That was really different. In 1969, I came down to work in a place called the Dream Bar at the Jonina Hotel on 71st Street.
Okay.
And at that point in time, the Dream Bar was like one of the hottest clubs in the beach. And the 70s were also hot. 70s, South Beach was nothing. South Beach was like thousands of old people sitting on the porch.
I remember. I remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
The 70s was where when the Beatles came down, they played Deauville, the
Yes.
Carillon, those hotels up there.
They were
those
the hot
those
ones.
are the hot ones, yeah.
Okay.
And the Jonina Hotel was right there too.
So you mean when you mean the 70s in the years, or the 70s on the Collins
It was
block?
like in the 70s on the streets.
Yeah, I'm just saying to clarify the people.
72nd Street, 73rd Street.
Yeah, because you know these people, they're from all over the world. They don't
Right.
know that.
Right,
I
right.
thought you were saying the
Well,
years.
it was 1969 when it came down.
Right.
And played the whole winter down here.
Okay, so you fell in love with the place, or
Yeah, it was like, who wants to be anywhere else in the wintertime?
But what about California, for example? I mean, why Miami?
Because I'm an East Coast guy.
You're so funny, Marty. I love you. Okay.
And then don't forget, there was no 95 then.
Oh, you're right.
So when you drove, and there was no interstates hardly anywhere. So when you drove, you know the song Route 66? That's how you went to California, on Route 66. You're not, not on any highways, not on 80 or whatever it is.
You're right.
And then same thing, when you came down from New York down here, you came down on US 1.
Wow.
So it took a little longer than to drive down.
Yeah, and we have now 95 and I-75 too.
There was none. They weren't around.
No, I know.
Yeah.
It just sounds funny because, I mean, for the people who don't know, I-95 is kind of really west of us, right? Yeah, it's west of us.
Yes.
Yes, west of Miami Beach. And then there is a new incorporation that is called the I-75 or something, or 75. That is another road parallel to 95. But I don't know what's the difference.
That's why on the west side of Florida,
Right.
you have the Midwesterners, and on the east side of Florida, you have the Easterners.
Ah, so
Because
those two roads are
because
used.
the-
Got
because
it.
75 goes down to the west. From the west, 95 runs along the coast.
Right.
And the 75 comes down. If you're coming from Ohio or somewhere, you're going to go down 75. You're going to wind up in Clearwater.
Got it.
You know.
No, the reason why I'm saying is because years ago, when people, I remember when I was a kid and I was here, and people said, oh, like nobody lives west of 95. And now we have the 75, and it's even like people lives out there, and the city has grown so much that it's normal now for us to like just go there. But in those years, it was like, oh, who lives there? You know, it was so far away.
Well, people live there, but
Yeah, it was
as they build out in the Everglades.
But who lived there?
Well, now they're just keep building out further west.
Yes.
The Everglades,
Yes, growing and growing. We're a virus that cannot be stopped.
Until the whole place floods.
Marty, you're funny.
My friend, a friend of mine, and his father passed away. He was old, and it was his time. And he went to the funeral and went to the cemetery with his mother, and his mother was screaming, "They're putting the casket in the water!" And it was bottom of the hole. There was water in it.
Oh my
They put the
God,
casket
that's
in the water.
horrible.
All the cemeteries are all built in the swamp. They're all built in the Everglades.
Oh my
It used to be
God.
Everglades and filled in, and now you go out there and it's flooded all the time.
The cemeteries?
At the cemeteries, people are gonna be there's gonna be caskets floating all
Oh my
over-
God,
all over
that's
South
kind
Florida.
of like creepy. Like that would be kind of a cool video for Halloween. Okay, so you moved here. I mean, you saw it in '69. You liked it, and then what? When did you
I bought
choose
my
to?
first house down here in '77.
Okay, so
Yeah, but I was making good money as a musician, and I was a solidly working musician. I never was out of work.
Yeah, you said.
And so I bought my house in New York. I paid cash for that. I bought the house down here, and I paid mostly cash for that. So I had my payments on both houses were $300 a month at that point in time.
Oh wow.
Which is,
Yeah. Well, then was
no,
still.
$300 was still cheap then. Even
Yeah?
though it was nothing. It was
Okay.
Yeah, you couldn't rent an apartment for $300 a month.
I remember we paid 800. Okay.
And so but I always wanted to be on the beach. And actually, we were. I was trying to find out about this house on. Now I only bought wrecks because I fixed them up. In the house in New York, I rewired the whole house. I replumbed the whole house myself. I did everything myself. And I put the skylights. I did a major renovation on that house.
Okay.
But I didn't hire anybody. And that's how I could afford to buy another house because I didn't have to pay to fix up the first
Right.
one. And so we started doing the paintings, and then we were doing very, very well. And doing all the biggest shows in the country. And saved up enough and heard about this house in Miami Beach on the water.
Like this one?
No. The house on
Where is your house in Miami Beach?
on Chase Avenue. Continuation of North Bay Road that they created because the golf course used to go to the water, and they cut in through that till in the 50s. They created lined it up with North Bay Road and then cut through and made a road there,
Okay.
and then shortened the golf course and then sold all those little lots there. But
Okay.
my house was 90 years old. It was built in 1930, and all the houses along the golf course were all built in the 50s.
Wow, this is amazing. So you have a waterfront house.
Yeah.
This is so cool. So you have the life I would like to have.
So then I had three houses.
And many of you would like to have this life.
I had three houses,
Yeah.
and I created a situation where I put down a lot of cash, asked for the owner to hold financing, which was back then you could do because more people owned their houses free and clear. And they, I mean.
Yes,
and now
yes.
everybody has mortgages on everything.
Yes.
But back then, so I asked for the mortgage, but the mortgage not to start till 1 year from date of closing.
Oh wow.
And they agreed to that. We threw back and forth negotiations, and so now I had the house in New York, I had the house in Miami Shores, I had the house in Miami Beach, and my payments were still only $300 a month. I said, how did I come up with? So it was great. I mean, I was happy. I did everything that was making me happy.
Mm-hmm.
I never considered myself working. As a musician, I didn't feel it was work because I had such
Yeah.
pleasure in it.
I know what you mean.
As an artist, I didn't feel it was work because I was doing it for pleasure. And then everybody was saying to me, somebody wrote an article about my wife and myself in Sunshine Artist magazine. A woman named Sonia Rizzoli, who's the matriarch of Miami artists, and wrote a very glowing article about how well we were doing. Described my house on Miami Beach as a mansion. We were living in a mansion, she said. And,
You probably are too humble to say it.
And so all the artists would come into me and say, "What did you do? How did you do that? What did you do?"
Uh-huh.
And I would tell them what I did and how I bought it and whatever. And they would say, "Oh, help me,"
Oh.
because they didn't know what to do with the money.
Right.
And so
Is that when you became a realtor?
that's when I said, "Let me everybody's asking me for advice about real estate. Let me go get a license." I
Yeah.
had 3 houses.
Yeah.
And so I got the license and put it with a company called Waterfront Properties.
Okay.
And
Are they still around?
Yeah, I own it.
Oh.
I still own Waterfront Properties.
Okay, so keep telling us.
So I for whatever reason that I can't explain, I was the only one in the office doing business. This was 1983 when you couldn't give a house away.
Mm-hmm.
And
Why couldn't you give a house away?
the mortgage rates went up to 20%.
What?
Yes, and people were climbing over each other to buy houses at 15%, 16%, 17%. When it was 10%, 12%, it was cheap. When it was cheap, that's what the mortgage rates went all the way up to like a credit card rates.
Yeah.
And by '83, everybody was in the same kind of situation. People were climbing over. The market was cleaned out. There was nothing on the market. People were outbidding each other on every piece of property. That you could
Okay.
imagine. By '83, everybody was over their head. They paid too much. The interest rates now, they're paying 20% interest rate, or 18%, or even 15%. And it just was out. There was just the market just collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
'83. But I had seen 80 was a good year, and 76 was a good year, and 72 was a good year. But because we didn't have the computer, we had the microfiche machine.
What's that?
Microfiche?
I don't
It looks
remember.
at a screen. You turn on a bulb inside lights up, and you have a little tray, and you have these cards, and the card will have an entire zip code on it. And you put it in, and you move it around, and you look, and you can see the sales, and it's like the same as the computer, but this is on cards.
I
And they
never
came out
heard
once
of
a
it.
year.
Man, I didn't know any of
Yeah.
this. Like, you're teaching me so
Yeah,
much.
you had to buy the sets. I still have the machine, and I still have the cards from back in the 80s.
Wow.
And so I had seen that every presidential election, the real estate market gets strong, and there's very low inventory. It becomes a seller's market.
Right.
Even as bad as things are now, in this pandemic, it's still a seller's market because there's no inventory out there. Not on houses. The houses are mostly gone. And so I said, well, you know what? Kept on saying, you know, that if it wasn't for you, I'd be closed the doors. You know, you're the only one doing business in the office. And not that you come to he would say, not that you come to the office, because I never went to the office. He'd say, how come you never come to the office? I would say, there's no business in the office, the business is out in the street. And so November of 83, I bought the company. From him.
Wow.
And 84 came around, and boom. And
Who was the president then? In 84?
In 84 was
Wait, let me guess. Reagan?
Reagan. Yeah, Reagan.
You know my history. Okay.
It was a transition from Carter
To Reagan. Yeah.
And
Carter only had one term, right?
yes.
What,
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Why was that?
Why did he have one term?
Please don't trash him.
Because
I mean, because he's still alive, and he's such a great man now.
he's a great
Yes.
man. He's a really, I mean, this is the only president I have ever known that actually dedicated his life to helping people after he
Yes.
was a president.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Please
he was
don't.
a very good man.
Anyway, so
He
you
didn't
know,
cheat on his wives. He didn't lie. He didn't.
right?
You know, he was a very honorable man. For
Yeah.
sure. And then
Yeah.
Reagan came in, and Reagan killed the unions.
The union, like,
You know, the airline. What do you call it?
I don't know.
They're up in the tower, and they
Oh yes, the radar people, or you know.
air controllers.
Yeah. Okay.
The air controllers went on
I'm
strike,
such a bad man.
and
Uh-huh.
he just said, okay, if you want to go on strike, forget about it. You're fired.
Okay.
And that point in time, the unions were good. The middle class was very strong up until that point because there was a lot of union workers in this town, including myself. I was in local 82 musicians union,
Okay.
and unions were great. I mean, they made sure that you got paid. They made sure you got a fair wage. And then after he fired the air controller,
The radar people. Today's video comes to you for a fine sponsorship from Gustavo Briand Studio, where hair for ladies and gentlemen becomes in high art. Also, Sultry Eyelashes Studio, where they bring the goddess out of every woman. And South Beach Charity Angels, your local charity here in Miami, and you can see the website and investigate more.
in any
Okay.
case,
Uh-huh.
that was basically the unions were busted after that. The musician unions became increasingly weaker and weaker too after that.
Really?
Yeah, everybody did. And then it became open, you know. Anyway, the whole everything changed after that. Everybody talks about how great Reagan was, and he was a great speaker because he was an actor.
And I was gonna say, yeah,
just like,
I
just
mean,
like this, you know.
don't
he-
even,
okay.
yeah. So, okay. So then 84 came, and then you became like, kind of like the real estate for the art people.
I was having so much fun in real estate. I had fun when I was a musician. I had fun when I was an artist, and I was having fun as a real estate broker.
Wow.
And it was just, I literally was having a great time.
And I heard that you were very like go-getter. Like you were not like a passive real estate.
No,
you were
no,
like,
no. And
I heard
also-
like stories, people.
And I also specialized in night owls, which nobody else does. Every real estate office closed at 5 o'clock.
Right.
And also, at that point in time, when I started, all the real estate agents that I ran into,
Yeah.
all were dressed like they were going to a wedding. It could be 90 degrees out, and the men were wearing suits and ties. The women were dresses, long dress.
Yeah.
I couldn't, and I would dress jeans and t-shirt.
Yeah, comfy.
And most of the customers were dressing like me.
Right.
And when I would bring an offer to somebody, they would say to another agent who had the listing on the property, "Where'd you come from? There's nobody's doing any business out. Where'd you come from?" and I had a lot of fun doing it.
So tell me a crazy story about that. Like, I mean, what's the craziest sale that you ever got because you're a go-getter? Like, I mean,
Okay.
I'm sure you could inspire a few real estaters.
Okay. Here, I gotta have a good one.
Okay.
There was a house on Alton Road. It's funny because it was the parents of the you saw the commercial from YouTube for Southeast Music.
Yes, which we're gonna play.
Okay. So his parents were looking for a house,
Mm-hmm.
and
In what year?
this was in the 80s. This was in the
Okay.
80s, yeah. I found perfect house for them, but nobody could see it.
What?
Perfect house, but nobody could see it.
I mean, did you even see it yourself?
No, it's from the outside.
Oh. So what about if inside was a mess?
Well, there was a woman who lived there, and she was ordered by the court after the divorce to sell the house.
Mm-hmm.
She had like 20 cats, didn't want anybody in the house for a couple of reasons. And I've seen it before where there's a divorce and the wife stays in the house and is ordered by the court to sell it. And she puts a sign up, she lists it by order of the court, but doesn't let anybody in to see it.
Right.
So,
So she could milk it.
So
Yeah.
I said, let's do this. Let's make an offer on the house for full price. You have to accept it,
Mm-hmm.
subject to inspection. They said, okay. I said, because the house was a bargain. The house was a fantastic deal. And it was a mess inside, but they expected that,
Right.
But it was a beautiful, beautiful house. And the architecture was,
Here in Miami Beach.
yeah, on Alton Road.
Okay.
They went with it, and they wound up buying the house.
Mm-hmm.
But because of some ingenuity, that the agent said there was like 20 or 30 people waiting to see the house.
Right.
So we just bought it.
that sounds so much like you. Something crazy you would
I
do.
did that about 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
I encountered a number of people who didn't want to show the house.
Mm-hmm. But how can you sell a house that you don't want to show? Well, I guess you could always sell
It's
it.
subject to inspection. You buy it, but it's still subject to inspection.
Right.
You don't like the inspections, you know.
Got it.
Back.
How do you decide to open a music store? I mean,
Well, I had a music room in my house, and I used to have jams there. And, I had,
Now
at that
okay.
point in time, I had 37 guitars,
uh-huh.
and my son was started to play saxophone,
Mm-hmm.
and I started buying him saxophones, all kinds of different saxophones. And I actually started out with an alto and a baritone that I owned myself before I started buying other saxophones.
Wait, you also play saxophone?
I play a little bit.
Okay.
I don't
But
call
your
myself a saxophone
strength is guitar,
Right.
which you don't mind playing a little like later. Okay.
Well, we'll see. And so I had all these instruments, and I had a tenant in here. I had kept this empty for 10 years
Wow.
because my office was on 41st Street, and I had a big giant sign. that
Like
lit up at
really,
night.
like really empty?
Empty. Yeah.
I wish I would know you and be like, if you're gonna have it empty, can you rent it to me for like?
You weren't even here at the time.
Okay. No, I'm just saying.
And again, the street was just, the street was not what it is today.
Right. No, I get that. Okay.
But I did have a lot of people asking me to rent it. And I
Oh.
said, no, I'm moving in. I'm moving in. I'm moving
Right.
in, I'm moving
For
in.
10 years.
For 10.
Yeah.
And then some friends of mine who I knew for years, also from Argentina,
Uh huh.
decided that they wanted to put their construction company in
In here.
here. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, it's a long story. But
Right.
anyway, they wound up renting it. And when they moved out, I said, that's it. I'm opening a music store.
Ooh. So and then I imagine that
But
this.
after I ran the real estate company full time from 83 to 93.
Oh wow,
And
10
then
years.
Hurricane Andrew came.
Yes. Oh.
And after Hurricane Andrew, there was no property for sale because either the properties were damaged, all the people who lost their homes, which was thousands of people lost their homes. just the beach, everything that was for rent got rented immediately. Everything that was for sale either got sold or became an overpriced rental. Because back then the insurance companies were paying.
I remember, trust me, I remember. I have so many people that I know they did like weird stuff with insurance people. I was like, oh, I wish I had their heart, you know.
But then all the insurance companies pulled out.
Yeah,
They
because,
all pulled out of Florida.
yeah.
They said, that's it, we do it.
Yeah, it was too
They love
corrupt.
to collect premiums, but they don't like to pay out. So this
Yeah,
time
but
they-
a lot of people, let me tell
but
you, a
they
lot of
paid
people
out
took
then.
advantage of
They
this.
paid out then.
Yeah.
They paid out big time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had palm trees that had fallen, and I was using a come about, you know, fence puller,
Yeah.
and I was jacking up one of my palm trees in the front, my front. Insurance guy came in into my driveway, and saw, you know, my house was really not that damaged, but my trees were all over the place, and you know, it looked like a hurricane just
Yeah.
through. And he just came into my driveway, and just took out a checkbook and wrote me a check, right on the spot. He said, "This is just to get started. This is so he'd help you out." The
That's
insurance
good
companies
to
were
hear.
different back then. But
Yeah.
that was nationwide, and then they said, "We're out of Florida."
Okay.
And then it became a pool, and then it became like ridiculously expensive to have windstorm insurance. But see, I took the 10 years off.
And that's
From
when you
93
were
to
here.
2003.
Oh, and you were not here.
No, I was here. I was. Oh,
You mean like in this shop?
No.
That's what I mean.
No, from 93 to 2003,
Uh-huh.
my tenant was in here.
Oh, the Argentinian people in
Yeah.
construction. Yes.
Yeah. But they changed their mind in the middle of the lease, and decided they wanted to put a kayak store here.
Really?
So they had that's what they. I don't know why they would have made it. They would have cleaned up if they had left it as a construction company.
Yeah.
Because then Joe Allen's opened, and all those people lived on the Venetian Causeway, and Star Island, and Palm Island, and Hibiscus Island.
By the way, Joe Allen's is a restaurant that opened here. It was the only nice
The
restaurant.
best food ever.
Yeah,
The
like
best
in this
food
neighborhood, Sunset Harbor, for how many years?
10 years. Okay.
Yeah, a good 10 years,
But
and
the
we.
food, that was the best restaurant I've ever been to.
I know. Like, same here. Like I would. It was weird because even though Miami Beach is full of restaurants, when you come to Joe Allen's, it was a treat because it was like in this hidden place. Because this place was nothing.
Right. No, but people lived on the beach for 20 years. They didn't know where Purdy Avenue was.
I know. So that's what I'm telling you. So I used to love to come here because I like different things, as you see in my videos. So, but anyway, so Joanna's opened and these people pull out. They open a kayak store, and what else? And then you move in.
Well, you see, they were after 9/11. They had real problems. My tenants had real problems after 9/11.
Oh, because that was 9/11. So it was like in 2001.
2001.
Okay, yeah, not 2003.
Right, so
Yes,
they were having real problems because there was no business anymore.
I know.
And by the time they moved out, they owed me a ton of money.
Oh.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so eventually, what happened was somebody had lent them money who lived on the Venetian Causeway. They couldn't pay him back,
Mm-hmm.
and even though they owed me more money than they owed him, they got a judgment against him. He got a judgment against them. They came with and got a sheriff's order, and came with 2 18-wheelers, and cleaned out the whole building, and took things that belonged to me. So I wrote a motion to get my things back, and I went to a hearing, and the judge awarded my possessions back, and the lawyer for the guy who got the judgment against him wrote the release incorrectly and had to go back 3 times. Finally, the third time I wrote the release and had them sign it. I just took it because I knew what the sheriff's department wanted, and I got there the day of the auction. So I said, "Well, I'm here anyway. Let me go see what's going on. I have all these racks around the property for kayak racks and everything." And I said, "You know what? There's only one guy bidding on everything." So I said, "You know what? I'm going to buy everything." So I outbid him. I bought all the equipment back, and
Wow.
I paid him a lot of money actually to bring everything back here. Okay, I'm in the kayak business now,
Uh-huh.
and then expanded it to paddle boards. And
So are you the pioneer of that stuff in this neighborhood?
well, they were actually the pioneer because they were the first people to open the kayak.
Right.
But they can't even tell you how much money they owed me. But,
Wow.
and then my oldest daughter, who's an artist, She has
Yes.
an art gallery up in Maine.
Wow.
And she's also doing real estate. I said, why don't you open up a little art gallery in the back? There's another building at the end of the driveway. That's the kayak office. Put a little gallery in there and sell some of your artwork and rent kayaks. And she said, okay. And her and her new husband, came down and did that. And he's from Maine originally, and she went to school in Maine, Maine College of Art, which is a very, very good art school that people don't even know about. And they did that for about 2 years. And there was a succession of people running the business.
The kayak store.
Kayak business. And then, like I said, we expanded into paddle boards.
Yes.
And then when we've been doing that continuously ever since.
So that's what I'm saying. And then these people next to Joanna's opened, right? After.
Yeah.
And then
Down the street they opened.
then next to my hair salon they
Right.
opened.
There's two more.
And then I'm like the kayak stores are like popping up everywhere.
Yeah. Well, but they were
Is
doing
that
things
affecting you? No.
Nothing affects me.
I love him. Oh my God. No, but for real, at the business, not
We
you.
were closed for like two or 3 months
Uh-huh.
because of the pandemic,
So
right?
funny.
And so they started to flourish because we were closed. And
Okay.
now that we're reopened, all the people who are walking from the boat ramp down all the way down to the end of the street
You
are
got it.
seeing us and going, "Oh, you open again! Great! Oh, we've been waiting for you to reopen." So
Oh.
people are coming back, and now they're gonna feel it. You know,
Okay.
So
But the other question is like, because next door to you, do they
around the
do?
corner,
Yeah.
they're doing mostly
Jet skis?
jet skis.
Okay.
And they rent cars and they rent boats.
But not.
They're not exclusively.
So anyway, so let's go back to the store. So you were like these people were pioneers, but then you took over the pioneership, and then
Well, the main thing was to open a music store because they had the kayak business in here in this building.
okay.
So they had kayaks, but they were never in here. They were always in the back, drinking coffee and smoking
Okay.
cigarettes. So you could literally walk into the store.
Take something, and they would never
walk out
know.
with anything you wanted.
Uh-huh.
They had no clue. They
And that's because you were in the U.S., but in South America, you would last 5 minutes.
But
You'll
they
be
were never
empty.
here. And I would come here, and I would come here, and I would walk in here, and literally. And it was one guy had stuff on consignment here, and he was calling me crying that they have this stuff, and so I met him here one day, and they weren't even here. I let him take his stuff, and I mean I knew he had a business around the corner.
Right.
He had a outdoors business where he sold tents and backpacks and a lot of hiking
Okay,
stuff and
yeah.
stuff. So he had a rack with his stuff in here, and I knew it was his. And I let him take it out, and they never even knew. They didn't even missed it. They didn't even know that it was gone. And I finally asked them about it. I said, "You know about this guy?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, okay." That's it. They hadn't even closed. They were very bad business.
Sweet old times.
Very bad businessmen, because had they put because they did beautiful construction work.
Okay.
They even did my sister's condo. They made a beautiful kitchen from scratch. They tore out the kitchen, put in a beautiful kitchen, beautiful cabinet. Everything was perfectly done.
Okay, so you opened the music store. You have hundreds of guitars.
I opened it immediately. I put behind here is windows.
Oh,
This whole wall is windows. And
there's still windows?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I put up all this slot wall by myself.
Okay.
I literally built the store in like a week.
You're so funny,
I had
Marty.
so many
I love you,
I
man.
had so many instruments that I just started hanging instruments out here, and I actually created an art piece. I created a giant diorama of what I thought a music store should look like.
This.
Yeah,
So I see that you have violins. You have this strange guitar,
that's a nude.
a nude.
My
You have.
electric guitars are here. My Fender guitars are on this side.
You have
My
like
art
that.
stop guitars are back there. My
Is that a
acoustic
quattro?
guitar-
Oh no, like a 3/4.
Which one?
The little one. A
The-
charango? No.
The one that's has the little violin shape.
Oh my
One-
God, those are like the weirdest guitars. Oh, that's okay.
That's a Puerto Rican quattro. And lefty guitars are over there. 1, 2, 3.
So, okay, so this is the main question. do you have, or before COVID, do you have like little parties or
I had
like?
jams here all the time.
That's
Yeah. And I used to have jams almost every Saturday night.
Wow,
And,
I've never been.
Yeah.
So like, at what time did they start?
It was flexible, but I opened from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m.
That was the other question. Like your
But
schedule
I
is
sold real estate at 3 o'clock in the morning too.
okay.
You know, I did that.
That's
also.
a niche.
I
I mean, I guess I could cut hair at that time, but not really.
if anybody has a night owl and they wanted to talk about real estate at 2 o'clock in the morning, they knew they could call me.
Right.
And I was the only person in town that had that niche.
Mm. Okay, so let's go back to the music store. So you have every Saturday you have different jams. So that means that people will come here and play instruments.
Right.
So do you plan doing that in any near future? I know COVID times.
The problem is the pandemic, but I still
Yeah.
have people come in and have to play sometimes.
With masks
I
or whatever?
haven't set the set of drums up yet, completely set up. And once these drums are set up, I'll probably start having jams again.
Oh wow.
It'll probably be like a Saturday night thing.
Okay, well let me know, right? Now you have my number.
I will.
Okay, good. So what else would you like to say? Like, this is like a great job. Like, I can't wait till I start filming all the instruments you have and everything. So do you have any advices for musicians or for real estate? I mean, besides that do business late.
If you're a musician, you got to be serious about it. You have to be. There are too many musicians that I've known. They want to be stars.
Well,
They don't want to be professional musicians. They want to be a star.
I got it.
Now, I was signed to a major label, and I had recording contracts. I had all that thing, but I never stopped working as a musician. I worked all the time. I worked all the biggest clubs in New York. I worked all over the country. I did touring. I did everything you can imagine in the music business. But I was a working musician, and if I knew in 2 months from now I was going to be open, I'd be on the phone getting my next gig. So I was always, because my life, I loved playing.
Can you say you were a workaholic?
Well, I was.
I mean, I'm just like, it just came out to me.
What I would say, I was dedicated to whatever I was doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So and then to real estaters.
You're passionate. You have to have passion for what you're doing.
Because
you're not passionate for what you're doing, then you just.
Well, that's why I do these videos. I go around, like, this is way off my working time. I work the whole day, and now I'm here, and then I have to go later home, and I have to help the guy that edits my videos in wherever. Like, we have to get in a thing, and we have to edit together, because even though he's doing it, I'm telling you, telling him what.
You're the director.
Right, and then
producer.
yeah. So I go to sleep like at 3 a.m. because this is my new passion.
That's early for me.
I still love hair.
That's early for me. I go to sleep at 5 or 6.
Oh my God, I would, but unfortunately, I have to work the next day.
Well, unless you made your hours from
early.
It's like from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Well, I make it for 11 because I try to open at 10 or 9. Disaster. Like, nobody comes at that time.
Exactly.
In South Beach.
Same thing with the music store. People open the music stores at 9 o'clock in the morning. Who's going to go to the music store? They open from 9 to, they open from 9 o'clock till 5 or 9 to 6 or even 9 to 9, But in the morning, there's nobody coming in.
So let me tell you this. So a secret not a secret, an advice for the real estates, because you might not know this, but in Miami or Miami Beach, everybody and their mothers are real estates.
That's
now
correct.
when you were, but even I went to real estate school and I didn't get the license because I was like, I don't know about this, but I went to real estate school. So everybody, even I did an interview with an astrologer. Everybody's a real estate in Miami. So I don't know any other city where there is so many real estates. So what is your advice for them?
Well, for most of them, I would say just do something else.
You're so funny, man.
They're not suited for sale. They're not suited to sell. Tell anyone.
Okay.
That's not their thing,
Okay.
And
it's
they
so
don't understand how to go about it.
Okay.
They don't have guidance from their brokers either. That's another
Right.
thing.
Well, supposedly they do, but I don't know what
they
kind.
supposedly do, but half the time the brokers that I've met
Yeah.
don't know what they're doing either.
Okay.
So they got a broker's license. That doesn't mean that they have knowledge beyond their taking that test.
Right.
And so I've seen a lot of brokers breaking a lot of rules in the past. You know, and the fact is that everybody has to live somewhere.
Right.
So you got to keep your ears open to see who's, you know, and the person that you're helping has to have the confidence in you that you can actually help them.
Yes.
Because too many times it's basically the blind leading the blind.
It's so funny, Marty. I love you.
And when I was doing real estate, I would never show anybody more than 3 properties. Because if they tell me what they're looking for,
You did that
I would
work.
find exactly what they're looking for.
Right.
And it was almost always the first property I showed. Because the first property I showed was the property I thought that was the best property for them.
Right.
And they turned out, and I say I was batting close to 1,000 on showing people property and making the deal for them. It's not an exaggeration.
Wow.
And I literally wrote contracts at 2 a.m.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe that.
And
So,
also people who have, let's say they have a house, right? And let's say it's a waterfront house or whatever it is. You know, so special.
nothing.
And they're a night owl. And they don't want anybody knocking in the door at 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning to show their house. They're in bed. They're in bed, or at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, they're eating breakfast, and they don't want people coming there.
Right.
So I was the perfect person to give that listen to, because I'm not going to bother them in the morning, because I'm sleeping too.
Well, that's great. So I hope that many real estate people that, they're getting into the business, they can, hear the advices from Marty. So Marty, like, what do you think is going to happen with this neighborhood? Because now, I mean, the streets were raised.
Other than being underwater, it's down.
No, but for real, like the streets were raised, so now we're like considered basements. It's so sad.
I'm still above.
Oh my God, you're
the
so
street.
lucky, man.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm like a basement.
Right. I used to have a porch in front. You're 3 steps up. You have to walk 3 steps up. And
Yes.
Now I'm level.
Okay, so got it. So I mean, what is your vision to this neighborhood besides being like Atlantis?
Well, right now it's hard to say because the pandemic has changed everything. The rents are way too high on the street.
Right, like that is.
The rents are way too high.
Yes.
And the businesses can't possibly be paying their rents because during the pandemic, while I was closed, I literally was lending money to the store. And the first time since I'm opened, since I bought the building in 1986, that I had to lend money to my business.
Okay.
So,
I
yeah,
see what you mean.
yeah.
Okay.
So I can't imagine. And I was able to do that. And I can't imagine somebody who was a clothing store down the street.
Yeah.
To be, more realistic, then Prairie Lounge closed.
Oh, that was so sad.
Okay.
That was before you, or
They were, I think they may have been here. They were here in meetings doing something.
I think. I mean, they were 20 years.
Well, the
here.
one thing I liked about this location was because of Prairie Lounge.
Yeah, me too.
Because they were open late at night, and I'd have traffic on the street, people coming.
Right.
But they put themselves out of business.
Why?
Well, because instead of they always had 2 cops in front of the building.
They did, or they?
Yeah, they had 2 cops. They hired 2 cops, off-duty cops, to watch this store. And the cops were were always out there flirting with the girls. What they needed was, and I had even mentioned to the manager, they needed a cop across the street in the parking lot across the street. Because that's where all the noise was coming from. Drunken people out there screaming at each other and getting into fights, all kinds of chaos in the parking lot across the street.
Okay.
While the cops are flirting with the girls in front, there's chaos going on in the parking lot.
I had no idea about this.
And the building, Sunset Harbour,
Yeah, they
all
got.
the windows face the parking lot
Yes.
on the north side, on the south side, and those are the people who were complaining, constantly complaining, and they were doing nothing about it. But they had a station of 2 cops in the parking lot.
That will happen.
They could probably still be in business.
Oh, that's so sad. Like, I was such a sweet
Again,
place.
they'd be out of business too because the pandemic.
Well,
was
yes,
everybody
you're
out of
right.
business.
Yeah, it was time.
And like I said, I think maybe they lost their lease. I don't even know.
I think that it's some of that.
I
Yeah.
think they lost the lease. So.
Wow. So anyway, Marty, like this is like, so the way you see this, let's say that we have no pandemic, how would you see this neighborhood? Because the pandemic
it was
will
still-
pass.
This neighborhood was booming.
Yes.
It was booming. This became the cool local Lincoln Road for people.
Right, and
This was the locals, all the locals here. When there was like a Memorial Day weekend or any of those weekends,
right,
this side of the beach would be dead.
right.
Remember on the busy weekends?
Yes, because everybody went to Ocean Drive,
Everybody-
and we were here.
and
This was for the local.
The locals were hiding.
Yeah,
The locals would
here.
either get out of town or
Yes.
hiding in their houses, and everything was going on. Even July 4th, every big weekend, this
Mhm.
neighborhood was dead.
Right.
And on Washington Avenue, where if you gave me a free store in Washington Avenue,
Oh, same here.
wouldn't
There's
even-
no
I
way.
wouldn't
No
go
way.
there.
I don't like.
So
You know,
this sort of-
locals we don't go beyond Collins. No Collins,
Right.
Washington, or
So
Ocean.
this was for the people of Venetian Causeway and Sunset Islands,
Right.
And all the side and West Avenue and this side of the beach.
Yeah.
This was the neighborhood, and they built a footbridge, which was great.
Yes.
And so this neighborhood will come back. There's no question about it.
Right.
It's just a matter of
Or
how soon.
who lasts until they come back?
Well,
I think we will. Yes, we went. So what killed me was also the construction of the elevation of the street,
Mhm.
and also when the street was floating. I had many clients that were helped by your customers because more than one person was cross the street with a kayak
Mhm.
because the ladies couldn't just cross the street like that. It was so flooded.
Mhm.
So thank you indirectly. So.
No, we did a lot of things. We volunteered kayaks for the cleanup of the islands, and
Mhm.
we did a lot of community things for the city, and that's why I was so annoyed that they didn't help us when they closed the boat ramp.
Yeah. Well, no comments about that one. So now I'm gonna take some footage about your guitars and stuff, and I want to say thank you for the interview because you are a living legend. You really are. Like, I mean, I always heard about you, and I bought a couple of things from you through the years. And thank you so much for being so cool and to have the interview. So I hope that everybody is watching us, that you get to know Marty. He's like a living legend.
And
literally.
I have a mustache too. Yeah.
Oh, you do? So Marty, thank you so much. I mean, we were kind of far away because we were doing the.
Social
Yeah,
distancing.
it doesn't look
Social
like, but this
distancing.
is more than 6 feet away.
Almost.
Yeah, right. So anyway, so thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And, I mean, thank you for receiving me in your beautiful shop. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next show.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. That's clicking on the little bell. Comment all you want. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like.
Don't forget to subscribe to grow the community.
And also, don't forget to follow our social media. And if you want to go ahead and share this video in all your platforms, share the love. Till next time!
Bye.